kind of expand on what my language teaching philosophy is. You can see I've got some Lego bricks here on the computer screen. The reason why I want to talk about Lego bricks to start off with, it's a great metaphor for language learning. You might be learning English, literature, history, geography, any sort of subject where you have the opportunity to express yourself in your native language. You know, if you've got a 13, 14-year-old student, they're going to be able to put more than sentences together. They're going to be able to start expressing themselves and expressing their ideas in fairly complex ways. We forget just how advanced that use of language is. The ability to communicate is a skill that we often underestimate because we use it all the time. But if I'm teaching a student how to learn a language, let's say beginner's German as I'm teaching with Kepler, I go right back to the basics. I have to. Why? You don't know what Lego brick means in German until you learn it. Either you taught it, or maybe you read a book, you go to Legoland in Germany, I don't know. But there needs to be an input, doesn't there? And until that input is received by you, you won't know what it is. There's whole languages that I don't know. I'd love to learn Arabic, but honestly, beyond shukran, I'm lost at sea. Same with Chinese. But German, I'm good at German. Slight underestimation there. I'm fluent at German. It's a language I love, and it's a language I'm very good at, and I can navigate it easily. And part of the reason is because I've spent a lot of time over years. I started it in year 7 when I was a wee lad of 11 years old, and I started learning about Lego bricks. I didn't know it at the time, but what I was doing is I was familiarising myself with Lego bricks of all colours, all shapes, all sizes. And I was learning. There are good and bad ways to learn how to do this, but I was learning how to put those bricks together. Make a wall, make a house, make a Star Wars Death Star. You follow me? And when you're learning a language at the beginning, it really is as simple and straightforward as this is a cuboid rectangular shape. It's got 4, maybe 6, maybe 8 bobs on the top. It's got lines there. It's red. That one's yellow. Now what could you do with it? And the student then gets a chance to play around with them, stick the orange and the blue one together, maybe stick the red one on the green. And maybe they start off in the first lesson learning 10 Lego bricks. That's it. But that is actually a very successful language lesson. The question comes, how often do you recap that? The second question is, how many lessons are you going to have and when? There is such a thing as the memory curve, which I'll show later on in this little video. But if you're going to be recapping stuff regularly, well, you're going to be putting that 10 Lego brick set that you've learned from your first language lesson, you're going to be putting that into your brain, and you're going to be making a clear and well-beaten path to those 10 Lego bricks. You'll be able to recognize them very, very quickly. Lord willing, you'll be able to use them soon as well. Now, the reason I talk about well-beaten path is because here's another great example. Here is a path. Could be the Lake District in England, in Cumbria, the northwest of England. There's some nice sheep there, probably hefted to the landscape. James Rebanks would be proud. It's a beautiful landscape. You can see some snow in the distance. But if you arrived here, where would you walk? Chances are, unless you were being contrarian, you would walk on this path in the middle. Now, why is that path there? I couldn't tell you why that path was first made. I couldn't tell you why probably the first shepherd a few hundred years ago, maybe even the Vikings or the Celts and the Britons before then, why they decided to walk there and not a metre to the left or to the right. We could speculate. But nonetheless, there is no grass on that path because it's been trodden down and worn away by thousands of footsteps. I like to think, and I do believe the science supports me in this, I just try and put it into the layman's language, that synapses in our brains, those neural pathways to pieces of information that are knocking around our heads, they're a little bit like that grassy field. And the more that we walk that path, the quicker, the more recognisable, the more unconscious, really, our recollection of language, information becomes. So much so that you could just walk through that field, maybe you're daydreaming, thinking about the Hobbit, whether there's a dragon over the next hill. You wouldn't have even noticed that you've chosen that pathway. You'd just be following it. You probably don't need to think about what your date of birth is or your name or where you live. Probably don't even need to think about what your wife, your children, your favourite Pokemon card looks like, because it's just been repeated so many times that it's embedded deeply in your long-term memory. Part of my conversation with Geoffrey Swaite, wonderful man, academic advisor to Kepler, and just a really jolly guy to have a conversation with. It was a really enjoyable first conversation, but one of the questions he asked me was, what are your sort of your teaching methods and your strategies for beginner's German? What's beginner's German going to look like? One of the things that I mentioned was this book. Now, it does look different. There are a few different editions. This is the one that I've got. It's a real classic, the Usborne series in England, Old England, that is. I can't speak for America, but I do know that the Find the Duck books are beloved by all children everywhere who have come across them. Now, you notice that this one is in German. There is Chinese, Arabic, Polish, Spanish, you name it. There's lots of them, and they all follow the same pattern. It's a very smart idea, because ironically, the concept of a dog doesn't change much between cultures. That's another really interesting conversation about what does a pig look like, or what does a house look like in different cultures. That's not my point. That's not what the point I'm trying to make. My point is more that the idea of a dog is not radically different. And so you can have the same pictures, and a child learning Arabic can look at the same dog and learn the name for dog. In this case, in German, der Hund, das Schwein. Okay, so the dog, and der Hund. We've got the same picture. Just a really efficient and very effective resource. One of the reasons I like this book is because it gives you 1,000 words. Now, you go on the internet, there are plenty of linguists and bloggers who will tell you that they did not learn a language at school. They did GCSE, may even have done A-level, thinking of maybe Benny Lewis and others like him. And they've realised that classroom learning has limitations. And to be honest, if a child isn't invested in anything, it is really like trying to take a stubborn horse to drink when it isn't thirsty. Compare that with a thirsty camel. Now, off the top of my head, I don't know how much water a thirsty camel can drink, but I know that it's a lot in a very little amount of time. Okay? And we're talking litres of water gets drained by, down a camel's throat if it's thirsty and it's got a chance to drink. As another metaphor, we've had Lego bricks, we've had, pathways through the Lake District, treading away the grass, and we've got another metaphor here for a stubborn horse that doesn't want to go to the drink, or a thirsty camel. And I promise you, from experience, but also just common sense, if your child or if you are interested in something and want to learn something, that motivation is really powerful. It's a multiplier for the retention of information, but also just the enthusiasm. And that does wonders for learning. So we've got a few examples here. This happens to be a picture of the farmyard. So you've got things like der Hahn, die Äpfel, die Biene, der Eimer, der Gans. All wonderful things if you're on a German homestead. However, some more normal words are also really, really important. And the reason why I think they're so important is because these are words that your child, maybe you're going to be encountering these on a daily basis. Lord willing, your little scruffy toddler's encountering the soap more than once a month. He'll probably be finding his bed every night, and the Toilettenpapier, the bog roll, Zahnbürste, hopefully brushing his teeth, again, more than once a fortnight. He'll be going to the toilet, he'll be having a shower, maybe some Zahnpasta. He might even be sitting on das sofa and watching something with you. Okay, so the point being that these are all words that you're going to be encountering. They might be invisible to you in English because, hey, why do you need to learn soap? It's soap. you're using soap. You're not thinking about the linguistic significance of decipher. Well, decipher is different, isn't it? It's different to the soap. And so all of a sudden your brain starts picking up on things, you're noticing it. And I really encourage that, because that noticing is another opportunity for memorizing something. It kind of adds to that long-term embedding of knowledge. So yeah, you might be washing your hands with der Wasserhahn und das Wasser am Waschbecken. Just an example. But already there's an opportunity to encounter some more words that you're learning through the course of beginner's German, which you're encountering in your daily life, which just, it's an opportunity to stack, to be efficient with the learning of that language, because you're going to be coming across it. Now, that's where I'm going to stop for the moment. I will just simply recap. We've got the Lego bricks here, the idea that we're kind of going back to basics really, and we're encountering individual components of a language, so that gradually over time we can start building them up and really putting them together in interesting ways. Again, build a Death Star or a Star Destroyer. We've looked at the idea of a path that's being carved out from a grassy meadow, the idea being that your synapses in your brain, they need to be well trodden. You need to be recapping things regularly, daily, a few times a day. When you first encountered a new word or a new sentence, new concept, you need to be walking that same path until eventually you wear away the grass completely and it becomes second nature. It's embedded in your long-term memory, and that's the goal. Well, part of the way that we're going to be efficient with that is we're going to be looking at a lot of words, a good chunk, a good 1,000 words over the course, and more, but a good 1,000 words over the course of beginner's German that we'll be encountering, that students will be studying, for homework and out of interest, words that are really relevant to everyday life. And we want them to be relevant to everyday life so that we encounter them often, and we're treading down the grass. For each of the little pathways to those new words, we want to have lots of opportunities to do that. And honestly, I can speak as a parent, great opportunity to help make your children bilingual, trilingual, by making them notice and encouraging, making it fun, the different items, objects, ideas that they come across, and helping them remember what it is in the other language. Brushing your teeth becomes, you might hop on one foot and practice your balance, but you could also be remembering what is toothpaste. Zahnpasta, I remember that. What's toothbrush? Zahnbürste, I remember that as well. Brilliant. And just to recap, nice high quality pictures here, some really nice illustrations with tons of items that we could be talking about. And that's going to form one main component of the Kepler's Beginner German, which I'm really looking forward to teaching. I will say as well that, obviously in partnership with Kepler, that if you want to try a lesson, if you want to come and see what the German language is like, if you want to come and see if my teaching style is to your enjoyment and it's effective for you and it's a good fit, please just get in touch. Just show some interest. We would love to hear from you. And I'm very, very happy to give 1-2 trial lessons and give you a good time and hopefully help you learn something even in those trial lessons. And there's absolutely no expectation that you have to carry it on. All right. So I hope that's been an enjoyable and informative little video for you. Thanks very much.